Hi, welcome to the Elvis Conspiracy, where we're looking into life and death and life, maybe, of Elvis Presley. We're traveling down that rabbit hole of conspiracy, and we're actually recreating for you a timeline of events with some observations or thoughts about those events and adding to the narrative of what happened in those final days and hours and in the after hours of Elvis's life. We're now at August 17th, 1977, the day after Elvis died, by noon of that day, less than 24 hours after the body had been discovered, taken to the hospital. Autopsies done. The body was returned to Graceland by noon for a private family viewing. I want to stop right there. As a pastor who has dealt with people who have faced death, even in the most extreme circumstances, a body is never returned and prepared that quickly. Now again, I understand these are special circumstances. This is Elvis Presley. But there seems to be the hint of a hastiness to this whole narrative that is worth stopping for a moment and pausing and mentioning. From 3 to 6:30 p.m. on the day after he died, which is August 17th, as people are continuing to come to Graceland by the thousands to mourn the death, which now is just 24 hours since it's been announced. The public was invited into Graceland to view the body as it lay in state in Graceland. Elvis was in an open casket, dressed in a white suit, blue shirt, and dark blue tie. And that is the body that people walked by and saw. And so, from 3 to 6:30 p.m., the thousands of people outside who had come to pay their respects to Elvis, just over 24 hours after his death, were invited into his home, which was very private and was never open to the public, to do just that. Vernon Presley, Elvis's dad, personally called fan club presidents and personal friends from all over the world and requested them not to attend the viewing or the funeral. Why? No idea. But he made calls to the fan clubs across the world to simply say, don't come to Graceland, don't come to this event, and certainly don't come to the viewing or funeral. A few notes on that strange day. It's reported that the body was changed into a pale blue suit after the viewing. That's the narrative that came out from the family. Again, to ask the morbid question, one, why would the family change the suit on the body that was in the casket? And the second piece is, how would the family actually be able to change the body or change the suit on a body that was already prepared for burial? Again, not your standard fare, not the normal thing that people would do, and certainly not an easy task if you're familiar at all with that process. It's also noted that Elvis's hair was still gray around the sideburns, and it was gray showing approximately a half inch to an inch from the scalp, because whether you believe it or not, Elvis did dye his hair jet black. And so even though he was getting ready to leave for a tour, that had not been done as of yet. Elvis's own hairdresser had worked throughout the night at the funeral home to dye the hair to black. It's interesting to note that it hadn't been done prior to his leaving on the tour, and instead of getting his hair dyed and getting ready to go, he spent that evening before going to the dentist. Elvis was meticulous about his appearance, and yet spent that entire evening doing nothing about the final preparations for that appearance, where he would be on stage the following evening. We talked about this a minute ago. Vernon personally calls people, telling them not to attend. How could Vernon, a grieving father who had just lost his only son, be clear-minded enough to make these calls to personal friends and the family? It would seem that those are the people that you want there, that those are the people you want closest to you. Could it be, as some have speculated, that he was concerned that they might not recognize it was not Elvis? And where did he find the time to call all these people? I mean, he didn't go to the hospital with the body, so he wasn't involved with any of the events that took place there. So between 3 p.m. on August 16th and before noon August 17th, he managed to make all of those calls to people, informing them of the death of Elvis and not to come, that the following day they would be having an event at Graceland. It's also interesting to note that the body was in a white suit. It was reported Elvis and Vernon were seen buying that white suit 6 to 8 weeks prior to August 16th. Also on June 14th, 1977, Elvis received a phone call from President Carter, of all people. There was a conference call with other White House department heads and advisors. Do you think that's odd? I mean, there is a moment where you have to ask yourself, why did the President of the United States call Elvis and have a conference call with him along with other White House advisors 8 weeks prior to August 16th? It is one of those strange, odd little hanging things out there where it begs the question, well, what were they talking about? And why make the call? That takes us to August 17th. Elvis has now been gone for 1 day. And in that 1 day, he's already been back to Graceland. Thousands have gone past the casket. His clothes have been changed multiple times. And the funeral is getting ready to happen. And that will be August 18th. And so that's where we go next time in the Elvis Conspiracy.